communities, let's call them, okay? Would have the Muslims. After all, number of residents inside the old city is just about 43,000 people altogether. More than 35,000 of them are Muslims. We have something like 5,000 Christians. We have something like 4,000 Jewish, and we have something like 3,000 to 2,000 people Armenians, Christian Armenians. Okay? Therefore, the city inside is divided into 4 different quarters.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your brother Tayyab Wahid. Alhamdulillah, I'm in East Jerusalem. The time is now 9:05 a.m. We're going to go on a walking tour in the old city, and we're going to visit Masjid al-Aqsa for the first time, inshallah. We're going to see the Dome of the Rock and the Wailing Wall and the place where the Christians believe that Isa alayhi salam was crucified, and so many sites. Inshallah, stay tuned for information. I just want to share a brief experience with you that I had this morning. We went to pray Fajr in Masjid al-Aqsa Friday morning today, and unfortunately I was walking with my friend and a group of us, and we got rejected from 6 gates. There are 7 gates to enter the Masjid al-Aqsa and the complex, and we got rejected from 6 gates. We started walking at 4:15, 4:30, and until 5:30, 5:35, nearly close to sunrise, we basically kept getting rejected. So every time I go in, say to the guards, I want to go in, and they said, where are you from? We say, we're from UK, we're English, and they're saying, go away, go back to your country, go away, go back to your country. Okay, remain patient, walked away, went somewhere else, said the same thing. And they've all got their gun, you know, they're intimidating me, you know, doing these type of things for no reason, giving me no reason why I've been rejected into entering the mosque. They go, today we're not accepting anyone from the UK, you go back, you go back. I'm like, we traveled so far, we're so tired, we just want to go and pray, let us go. They go, no, you're not allowed to enter the masjid. I don't know why, I don't know what the reason is, I don't know what other people's experience is, but that's unfortunately my experience today. Very upset, very disappointed about that. Hopefully I can go and see the masjid today, inshallah. I'll remember all of you in your prayers, remember me in your prayers as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Also, one other thing I forgot to mention earlier is I don't feel comfortable recording here with my device, because I don't know what the response will be like, because it's not going to be positive. So I'm going to try and keep my recording to a minimum. So if I don't show you everything, the reason why is because I'm not allowed to record in certain areas. Obviously I won't be recording guards and these sort of things. I'll just try and record like the tourist attractions or the holy sites. But if I don't get everything, that's the reason why. Alhamdulillah, I've got a lot of space in my memory card. I've got 2 spare batteries on me. I've got no issue in recording, but I actually don't feel comfortable recording here for whatever reason, especially after my experience this morning. I don't feel comfortable recording here. As you can see, I've got this earpiece and receiver here, because we're going to go on the walking talk. Because we're going to go on the walking tour, the gentleman who's doing the tour is going to basically give us information through this. So this is a nice little bit of kit. So just keep in mind, if I don't get everything recorded, that's the reason why, inshallah. So this is a map of the old city of Jerusalem. As you can see, all around here is the gates around the old city. This small part here is all of Masjid al-Aqsa. This is where all of the prophets prayed behind our beloved Prophet Muhammad on the night of Isra wa Miraj. 124,000 prophets prayed here behind the Prophet Muhammad in the night of Isra wa Miraj. A lot of shops are closed today because it's Friday, and we're currently in the Muslim quarters, Salahuddin Street. Some shops are open, but most are closed because it's Friday, the day of Jumu'ah. On this street here you have restaurants, money exchanges.
In front of the graveyards that we have in East Jerusalem. Many of my relevants are buried in here. My grandfather, my grandmother, on this side over here, of my mom's side, they're buried in this graveyard over here. I advise you on your free day on Sunday to go into the museum inside Masjid Al-Aqsa Mubarak. Inside the museum, you will see a big cannon. The cannon is from the Ottoman era, and until today, they use the cannon in this cemetery over here during the month of Ramadan. They put the let's call them explosives inside the cannon, and they fire it, announcing the time to break fasting. So if it happens that you guys are coming and visiting during the month of Ramadan, do not be surprised that when the Sheikh is doing the adhan, you will hear like a big noise of explosion. That has been done for hundreds of years now. And the place where they do it is exactly in this place over here. Inshallah, I advise you to go ahead and visit on Sunday. The museum is very rich, free of charge.
But as you can see, brothers and sisters, I'm lost for words. These are the gates around the old city. These are the walls around the old city and Masjid Al-Aqsa. You can only go through here, through the 7 gates, and there's soldiers standing at every gate.
Sisters, you can stand in the shady area. We're going to talk about the walls of the old city, gates of the old city for a few minutes, and then carry on, please. I'll stand over here. It's going to be easier for you guys. To my right over here, right to your left, walls of the old city. The wall of the old city that you look at is from the Ottoman era. Okay? This wall actually is the most recent wall that was built around the old city, which means that the city did have walls all through history. Those of you guys who read the Bible, you must have read that Isa alayhi salam, according to the Christian belief, was crucified outside city walls. That is an indication that the city did have walls through history even 2,000 years back. As a matter of fact, as Brother Shaykh Abdul Aziz mentioned yesterday, this country did change hands almost every 200-300 years or so. And there were like major battles between big empires competing and trying to defeat each other. And once that happens, the victorious ones will just go ahead and destroy the city altogether and then rebuild it again, including the walls. Therefore, we did have walls from the Greek era, which we call the Hellenistic era, 330 BCE, even prior to that. We did have Roman walls that followed. We did have early Arab Muslim era walls. We did have Mamluk walls. We did have Ottoman walls, which are the ones that you can see now. Ottoman walls were built in the year 1535, about 500 years, 490 years ago. Most likely you have heard about Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent was one of the strongest, most influential of the Ottoman rulers from the early days of the Ottoman era. He came in and he decided to rebuild Jerusalem, to start with the walls. So the walls, as you can see, are very thick, very high, and at the same time they are designed that the archery people can defend the city through those small holes in there that you can see, and as well on the top over there. The main point is to build very high, strong, massive walls, of course, as protection. You want to protect the people who live inside the city. So the way that you do it, you build very high, very thick, very strong walls, and you make very small openings. Those gates are, compared to the size of the wall, are very, very small gates. Okay? The main thing is to minimize and control the amount of the crowds, to minimize the amount of the number of soldiers who can rush and conquer the city. You can imagine soldiers rushing on horsebacks and they are trying to go into the city. If you have like 50,000 people, only maybe 200-300 will be able to go with like 20s or 30s at a time whenever they try to go in. Of course, that will buy precious time for the defenders on the other end so they can defend the city. Not only that, Ottomans actually designed the wall, designed the gate, and on the inner side of the gate, they did build a massive wall. The massive wall over here was replaced with a small grocery place, but once we get to Damascus Gate, you will see a massive wall that faces you directly. You try to enter the city, and then there is a wall facing you and forcing you to turn 90 degrees so you can access the city. Again, if you are rushing inside the city, there's that wall forcing you to slow down, forcing you to turn and then enter the city, and again, that is the time needed to be able to protect the city. Everything was done, calculated to protect the city in every possible way. Okay? Until the end of the 19th century, most of the residents of Jerusalem at that time lived behind the walls, like inside the city. All of this area over here was empty fields for like agriculture, olive, oranges, apricots, different types of agriculture besides wheat and so on, things that they needed. But people lived inside the city. Every night, more or less by sunset, the guards will just shut down the gates, and the next morning by sunrise, the gates will be reopened and people will be able to go out the city. Okay? Again, to give protection to the people living inside the city. You have seen most likely medieval movies about people gathering and living inside castles and fortresses like this sort. So that was the story of Jerusalem then. That means that most of the modernity that you see around you is less than about 150 years. Less than 150 years. Most of these buildings did not exist at that time yet. Questions so far? Okay. As I mentioned, the city is built or inhabited by 4 different communities, let's call them. Okay? We have the Muslims. After all, number of residents inside the old city is just about 43,000 people altogether. More than 35,000 of them are Muslims. We have something like 5,000 Christians. We have something like 4,000 Jewish, and we have something like 3,000 to 2,000 people Armenians, Christian Armenians. Okay? Therefore, the city inside is divided into 4 different quarters. We have the Muslims quarter, which is the biggest in number and size. We have the Christian quarter, which is the second largest. Jewish quarter is the smallest, because the third one will be in size, of course, will be the Armenian quarter. Okay? You can see this map that you saw already with the Sheikh's hands minutes ago. This map over here shows you the walls of the old city. Okay? Once you take a photo, you might want to just get back so that others can see this, please. If we take out the walls of the old city and stretch them in a straight line, the walls extend for 4.2 kilometers. 4.2 kilometers, that's the length of the walls if we stretch them out in one straight line. The area altogether is about 1 square kilometer. That means that we have 1 kilometer in this direction, 1 kilometer in this direction, so the area is about 1 square kilometer. Okay? The old city is divided in 4 quarters. Biggest, largest is the Muslims quarter, including the Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak, the whole compound. Second largest is the Christian quarter, including the Holy Sepulchre Church. We do have the Armenian quarter over here. And then we have the Jewish quarter, including the Wailing Wall or the Western Wall that we'll be visiting today. So today we will be entering from Damascus Gate. This is the place where we are in now. We will be entering from Damascus Gate. We will be going to Masjid Al-Aqsa Mubarak through this road over here. And then we'll be visiting in the afternoon, inshallah, Wailing Wall area, Christian quarter. And if you guys have enough energy, we might as well go outside city walls to visit Maqam Nabi Dawood alayhi salam. Okay, that is a tradition. That is not the true place where he is buried, but we can definitely visit that place because it has as well the Last Supper room. I don't know if we have Christian converts with us, people who converted to Islam, but the Last Supper room is a very, very important place, at least for Christian believers. Of course, as we believe in Isa alayhi salam, then that place becomes very important for us as well. So it all depends on your energy, inshallah, and our question is where it's going to be. The city was destroyed and rebuilt over and over again. This is just a quick reminder of that. You can see over here the remains of the older walls. On top of them, you have the newer wall. Okay, those big boulders, big blocks over here, That's where the older walls used to be. Now when the Ottomans came in, they tried to make use of what's already they have in their hands. So if you have such big, massive blocks, you might as well just go ahead and put the new wall on top of them. Okay, so this is the older wall and this is the newer one. This is 500 years old almost, and this is way much older. Once we get closer to Damascus Gate, you will start seeing different levels of the old city. It's just like a cake that's built of different layers. It's exactly the same story with the old city. Do we have anybody with any type of geological background? Okay, Jerusalem is sitting on a limestone hill. All these rocks that you see around you, including the walls rocks, are limestone. Okay, as a matter of fact, this gate over here hides behind it one of the biggest and oldest quarries that we have in Jerusalem until today. Now it's not functioning as a quarry, but this cave actually is a huge cave. Now it's open for visitors. You can buy a ticket, you can go in, you can spend at least an hour just walking inside that cave. You will see stones that have already been cut out so they can use them for building. You can see stones that have been almost cut out, but they are still attached to the mother rock or to the main rock. The idea behind it is to have a huge cave with a very small gate. That way you can always lock the moisture, you can always lock the humidity inside. And if you understand the nature of limestone, that makes it way much softer. So you can cut it and deal with it in a much easier way, much less effort. Once that stone is cut off the mother rock, it's taken out and put in here. And then with the sun, with the wind, it hardens and then becomes ready to be used for building. Okay? So this is the cave where most of the building stones of older Jerusalem, at least in the, let's say, 1,000 years or even more, being taken or extracted out of this cave over here. It became an attraction because Jewish people claimed that this is the place where the last Jewish king during the Babylonian invasion, I don't know if you guys have read history, in the year 586 BCE, 586 BCE, Nebuchadnezzar comes to the Holy Land and he invades the country. He kills and enslaves the Jewish community that used to live in here, and he takes their kings as slaves to Babylonia at that time. After killing the children of the king, poking both his eyes, he takes him alive and he kills him in Babylonia. So he was captured in this cave according to the Jewish tradition. There is no coincidence. If you see over here, you can see an eye on the sign over here. That is the sign more or less of the Freemasons, right? I think that you guys have some of those in the UK as well. Freemasons actually have been and still celebrate their meetings inside this cave over here. They do have like annual meetings, and they are to take place in this cave over here. Okay? If you take a look at this building over here that looks like a castle, this is a German built, designed, owned until today, a school, college, and church at the same time. Okay, it's called the Schmidt College. Schmidt College. If you look straight ahead where the flag is, you can see two towers and you can see a statue of Virgin Mary carrying her son in there. That is the French Notre Dame. French Notre Dame, again, church, vocational school. That's where they teach people cooking, how to become tailors, blacksmith, and so on. They do have a place for pilgrims, for French pilgrims and so on, in that building over there. If you take a look at that metal antenna sticking out over there, to the right of it, we do have the Russian block. Russian block. There's a huge piece of land that has been given to the Russians. They do have, again, a place for pilgrims. They do have churches and so on. Not too far from your hotel, we do have the St. George Monastery and a school. We do have the Italian church and hospital. The reason why I'm saying all these international countries is that in the end of the 19th century, after the Ottoman Empire being so long involved in wars mainly against the Russian Empire, They were fighting over what's known today as Ukraine. So a very long war actually drained the treasury of the Ottoman Empire. They do not really have much money left to pay for the soldiers, to pay for ammunition, to pay for guns, and so on. So they, of course, the different international superpowers at that time, they came in trying to help them out. So they give them weapons. So they, of course, the main idea is to expand and extend that war as much as possible to weaken both empires at the same time. So Russians will be losing, Ottomans will be losing, and that was their plan. So when the time was up that the Ottomans need to pay back the superpowers, they do not have any money to pay them. So the superpowers came in and said, okay, well, give us Jerusalem. We have no problem with that. You took money, you fought, no problem. Now give us back our money. You don't have money to give back, so we'll take Jerusalem. Of course, the Ottomans did not really want to give Jerusalem to different superpowers, so they gave them pieces of land as close as possible to the old city. The main intention was to take the old city and divide it between the superpowers. But as you will go inside the old city is congested. You will not find any square free meter inside the old city. Therefore, they bought lands, or they took lands as close as possible to the walls. Okay? You are less than 50 meters away from the walls of the old city. You have German exists, you have French, you have Russians, you have English, and so on. All those buildings are still owned, managed by those superpowers. Of course, I did mention school, church, hotel, church, hospital, church, because the main idea was to try and, as a missionary, trying to have people convert to different religions, including, of course, either Catholicism or Protestants. That did not work out, alhamdulillah. People just saw those priests coming in, so they said, okay, well, we'll stick with our religion, thank you very much. So they said, okay, well, if they do not really want to play this game, let's put a coat of a doctor on that priest and have that priest give them the medicine and give them the Bible at the same time. The same game is being played until today in different third world countries, including India, including different parts of the world. That's why, you know, they came in as teachers, they came in as nurses, they came in as doctors, and they were trying to help out the community and to spread their religion at the same time. Alhamdulillah, it did not work out. We have very, very few families that converted from Islam to different religions. We have some families that converted from Orthodox faith to Catholic faith, or Orthodox or Catholic faith to a Protestant faith. Good? Questions? Okay. With this, you have the surveillance cameras. London, I believe, is one of the first cities in the whole world, in number at least. Well, we could be the second in the world. We have cameras like these everywhere you look. And of course, they do have the technology of face recognition and all the software needed for that. So anybody who approaches, anybody who comes, your picture is already detected, kept on file. I'm sorry. They do have all our faces kept on a software, so they can definitely track anybody who comes in, goes out, and they do have a software that can retroactivate. Like you can go backwards and see when that person came in, where he stopped, and how much time he spent in this place or that place, and so on. So of course, with the excuse of security, but it covers the whole city, the old city, and the surrounding roads of the old city, including, of course, roads and streets that lead to the old city. On our next stop, which will be in less than 2 minutes, you will be approached by many people who are trying to beg. Okay, they will be like coming, limping, and not able to open their eyes and all of that stuff. Again, I do not tell people to give or not to give. That's totally up to you. But at least try to keep your bags close to your bodies, have them closed, and please do not encourage beggars to continue doing their job. If you want to give out money, we have a zakat office. If you turn your eyes to where I'm pointing my laser pointer, you guys with me? Yeah. Okay. This is actually one of a series of 3 gates from the Roman era. Talking about 132 AD. There used to be an emperor called Hadrianus. Hadrianus actually came in after the city was totally destroyed. Hadrianus comes and decides to rebuild the city. However, he decides to build it as a Roman pagan city. At that time, Romans were still pagans. Therefore, he did not want to have anything that's related to any religion altogether. So he finds the city destroyed. He changes the name from Yerushalayim in Hebrew, from Al-Quds in Arabic, and he calls it Ilia Capitolina. Ilia following his first name, because his name was Elias Adrianos. So Ilia is following his first name. Capitolina is like a Roman province. So this is like a Roman city with its name, with its title. He decides to build a 3-arched gate. This is the left short one. There used to be a much higher arched gate underneath, gate, and where the Ottoman Square gate is now, and where the green bush is, there used to be another shorter one to the right over there. So we have a short one, a massive higher one, and then a third short one on the other end over there. We are going through the Ottoman gate, and I did mention the wall. Remember the wall? You are trying to rush in the city, you are trying to conquer the city, and there's a massive wall right over there that stops you and prevents you from attacking the city. That's exactly what you can see over here. It will force you to make a very sharp turn to the left so you can go inside the city. We mentioned the 4 quarters. We are in the very heart of the Muslims' quarter. In spite of that, you do have Israeli-owned houses in here. Okay, these are Jewish-owned houses. You can see the Star of David, you can see the menorah over here, and you can see the flag. These houses actually have been bought by Israelis from Palestinian families not too long ago, 20, 30, 35 years ago or so. Some of the houses have been sold either in a direct way or in an indirect way, either through like a third party, like I sold it to Ali and Ali sold it to them, or Ali was like, not you personally of course, but there could be like a lawyer in between, and he kind of connected the lines and the property ended up to their hands. Of course, the amount of money that any house over here is sold to the Israelis is at least 10 times the price value. Sometimes even 20 to 35 the price, the market value. So if you have like a house or an apartment that's like $200,000, they absolutely do not have any problem to give you like $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 million for it. No problem at all. The money, of course, does not come from the people, the Israelis. It comes as funds from different rich people, mainly NASDAQ and Dow Jones, and people from the East Coast of the United States, that they main to increase the number of Israelis' presence in the Muslims' quarter over here. So they come in, they buy, and they spread. Of course, they definitely want to put their signs and make their presence noticeable by putting flags and stars and so on, just to make sure that you see them and you do not misunderstand their presence in this area and the reason why they are here. Are we good to go? Okay. It passes through this alley over here. You can see the Via Dolorosa over here. Okay? It passes through this alley, and then it comes in this direction, and then it takes a right turn. Via Dolorosa, of course, is a very, very, very important tradition for Catholics mainly, and it refers to the way of the cross. According to the Christian belief, that is the road, or that is the route that Isa alayhi salam carried his cross on his way from being condemned to the place where he would be crucified on Friday. Okay, so today, inshallah, once we get to the Holy Sepulchre Church, we will be referring to the Via Dolorosa and the 14 stations. So it starts from there. In there, we have stations 1 and 2. The Via Dolorosa is made out of 14 different stations. So back in that alley, we have the first and second stations. Over here, we have third and fourth. Down the street, we have fifth. And then it goes up towards the Holy Sepulchre Church. I'll be talking to you about these 2 stations over here. Of course, the Via Dolorosa is a must-see a part of every Christian Catholic pilgrimage tour. Once we bring in Christian pilgrims, this is like a place where we spend half a day just talking about the Via Dolorosa and everything that's related to it. So in station number 3 over here, you can see number 3. Station number 3, this is the place where, according to tradition, Isa falls under the heavy weight of the cross. The cross was made of a very, very big and heavy wood. It has to be a very strong wood that it can carry the weight of a man, an adult man, so above ground, of course. And in here, he falls under the heavy weight of the cross for the first time. So this is station number 3. Station number 4 over here, you can see Isa and Mary, right, on top. This is called Our Lady of the Spasm Church, Our Lady of the Spasm. According to tradition, he's on his way to be crucified. He's being whipped, he's being beaten, he's already bleeding. And his mother meets him in this area over here. And of course, as any other mother, she gets in a very nervous shock. She's witnessing her son on his way to be killed and crucified. So this is this church over here, and you can see the statue over here, Mary, and you can see Jesus over here with the cross. Okay, this is station number 4, Our Lady of the Spasm Church. This is of course an Armenian. You can see the Armenian flag, red, blue, and orange. That's the Armenian flag. This is an Armenian owned and managed church. Very beautiful. Armenians are brilliant artists. I don't know if you guys have noticed that or not, but if you go and if you guys are like lovers of art and churches, once you go in there, that's like an art gallery. It's very, very beautiful. In case anybody needs toilets, we have public toilets over here before we enter the masjid, and we have another station for toilets before we enter the masjid. Okay? Just in case you did have like an extra cup of coffee or tea and before we continue, brothers and sisters, you can see over here station number 5. Before we continue, you can see over here station number 5. And station number 5, according to tradition, if you look at this statue over here as well, you can see that there is a man carrying the cross, and that is, you guys are not following.
Judas?
The man who's carrying the cross is Jesus. The man who's carrying the cross is Jesus, and he's helped by another man whose name is Simon of Cyrene. Simon comes out to help Jesus because the heavy weight of the cross, and of course he's been dragged by another Roman soldier. Simon was dragged by another Roman soldier so he can help out Jesus to carry the cross. From this point on, up in this direction, you continue your way towards the Holy Sepulchre Church. Okay? So stations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to this point, and from this point on you continue, you'll find stations 6, 7, and 8, and then 9, 10, 11, and you go already inside the church itself. Again, this is all Catholic tradition.
लाखों सलाम